this video, we are going to be looking at the core connection in a 4-point kneeling position while moving one arm at a time. With this exercise, it's a really good exercise for getting your deep abdominal muscle working, but it's also a great exercise at connecting the shoulder to the opposite hip along your back line. So from the back of the shoulder to the back of the hip on the other side. And that's really important for walking, for running, lots of different everyday activities, lifting, bending, getting out of a chair even. So it's a really good foundation exercise to start with, and then obviously we can progress that at a later date. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into a 4-point kneeling position. And we want to make sure that the knees are directly underneath the hips. So you want a nice straight line from the hip down to the knee on each side. So possibly just bring that knee just slightly out to the side there. That's great. Perfect. You want to feel like you've got a nice bit of support underneath you. That one can actually come back in. That's it, slightly there. Great. You also want to make sure that the weight is directly over the knees. So just bringing that weight slightly forwards, and you should then find that there's a straight line from the shoulder down into the wrist. Now this can cause a little bit of wrist discomfort, and it's important that you put the weight through the front of your hand as opposed to the heel of your hand. So where the knuckles start, you want to be splaying the fingers and putting pressure through that front part, almost like you're pushing the floor away from you. Excellent, and that's going to give you a nice bit of strength through your shoulders as well. So it's almost like you're pushing that breastbone away from the floor. Excellent. So we're going to start now with just looking at our upper back position and the shoulders. We're going to be sliding those shoulder blades underneath the bra strap. Good, and that's going to be lengthening the neck, and then you're going to just look in between the fingers. Excellent. So the neck is nice and long, and then the upper back is nice and straight. You should feel, if you're pushing the floor away from you, nice and strong through those shoulders. Keep that pressure there. And as we come to the tailbone, we've got quite a nice flat spine here, so we're going to keep that nice neutral position. And then we're going to look at the core connection, that deep abdominal exercise. Now, in this position, what we're going to do is we're going to use our breathing to activate that deep muscle. First of all, we are going to inhale to let our tummy soften, and exhale to lift the tummy up away from the floor and towards the spine. And as we do that, we want to make sure we're not curling the spine up like a cat-cow exercise. We want to make sure that if we had a glass of water full to the brim resting on the back, that's really important to keep it nice and level. So it's not about spinal movement, it's about spinal stability. And we're using that deep abdominal muscle to get that spinal stability. Okay, so we're going to add on a layer now of difficulty, and we're going to add in some arm movements. We're going to start with the left arm. So as you exhale, you're going to tighten that core muscle, and you're going to reach the left arm forwards, leading with the thumb, and then coming back in so that hand is directly underneath your shoulder again. Then you're going to reset yourself, make sure you've got the weight forwards over the front of the hands and directly onto the knees. And then again, inhale, prepare, exhale, tighten the core, reach the right arm forwards now, and then bring it back as you inhale. And let's go over to the other leg again, exhale, tighten, and reach. And inhale, come back, excellent. And you can just see there, if the wrists are a little bit uncomfortable, the weight can come back over the heels slightly. So it's just about bringing that weight forwards so that you're down over your hands. Now, if your hands get a little bit uncomfortable, then you can sit back onto your heels and rest and circle your wrists, wiggle your fingers around, get the blood flow coming back into that area. Okay, so you should find that you're able to keep that spine nice and still. You're able to keep the strength through the shoulders, and we're going to start off with maybe 3 to 5 repetitions for each arm, and then obviously giving yourself a rest whenever you need to. Ideally, we want to be able to keep this whole area nice and still. So even when we go into a 3-point support, when the arm is reached forwards, you don't want any movement to left or right. You want to be keeping this line nice and straight. So we've got track lines on our mat here, it's really useful to have those track lines, because you can position yourself and you can look at those track lines and think, is my body staying nice and level with those track lines and parallel, or is it coming off to the side, to one side or the other, or am I rotating? Is my bottom swinging from side to side? That's something that you don't want to do. So it's keeping yourself parallel, front to back, and nice and straight, and then straight horizontally, so that your pelvis and your upper back are nice and connected into the spine. There we go. So if we come back, if your hands are a little bit uncomfortable, you can circle them around, wiggle those fingers, maybe even give them a little bit of a rub. So that's the 4-point kneeling arm reach exercise, specifically focusing on deep abdominal activity, but also looking into strengthening up the back line to help with activities like walking and running.